Ryan Wilson's latest mock draft, and catch it right now on CBSSports.com. But this is how he thinks 1 through 10 are going to work out. The Titans sticking with that number 1 overall pick, taking Cam Ward out of Miami, and then Shedeur Sanders going number 2 overall to Cleveland. We have the Giants going with 2 A-star Travis Hunter, so we have 2 guys from Colorado, and this latest mock going in the top 3, Calvin Banks there going to New England. They have their quarterback at the future, as mentioned in Drake May, and then with the Jacksonville Jaguars going the D-line route with Mason Graham. We're going to talk team needs with our NFL draft expert Ryan Wilson, and we're going to talk about the Patriots, Ryan, because step number 1 for them was finding a new head coach. They did just that to no one's surprise, and Mike Vrabel officially announcing him as their head coach today at a press conference. But what are the areas of need that they need to address in the upcoming drafts? Hey Jackson, good to see you. Patriots in your picking 4th. You probably had to have a ton of needs. Luckily, quarterback isn't one of them. They got that right last year with Drake May, but you have to protect Drake May. They've drafted what felt like a million interior offensive linemen in the last few years. This year, you have to get an offensive tackle. That has to be one of the primary needs. And you saw that in my mock draft. You mentioned Kelvin Banks Jr. But here's some other needs, depending on how the draft board falls in front of you. If Travis Hunter's there, and you happen to have needs at wide receiver and cornerback, Christian Gonzalez was a fantastic pick a few years ago. Get up some help with Travis Hunter. That's a run up the card and make that pick type of situation. And then if you want to help out Keon White, the only real edge rusher you have that's still pretty young on the roster, Abdul Carter makes a ton of sense as well. I had him going 8 there, to the Panthers. He could go higher than that. He's a juiced up edge rusher out of Penn State, and him opposite Keon White. Sounds exciting, but ideally, number 1 would be the offensive tackle situation. If they don't address that in free agency, run that card up Kelvin Banks Jr. Even Will Campbell at LSU makes a ton of sense. And then you can move on and make sure you get that quarterback protected as you look towards the rest of the draft. Yeah, and the good thing about Travis Hunter is, if you have a wide receiver need, a corner need, he can maybe fit one or both of those. Maybe not the same snap count. I'm just all in college, but he is a 2-way star for a reason. Let's go to the Dallas Cowboys. They still need to figure out who their next head coach is going to be. It's not going to be Michael McCarthy. That news is coming down today, but it feels like, Ryan, they need to get some sort of a run game going. We saw them struggle in that department a lot this last season, and it feels like Ashton Gente, who has been the star running back of college football, feels like a good fit there. Yeah, I think, at one point I counted 20 teams where Ashton Gente would be a good fit in the first round. That's how special he is. And by the way, shout out to Jerry Jones for not letting Mike McCarthy interview last week with the Bears and then decided not to re-up him. That's a baller move, as the kids say. Kids don't say that, but in terms of what the Cowboys need, they need a ton of things. They got to get healthy with their quarterback situation. Obviously, Ash and Gente would make a ton of sense. They moved on from Zeke Elliott. They get help with the linebacker position. DeMarvion Overshone had that serious knee injury. He might miss some or all of next season. He was playing really well before the injury. Jihad Campbell at Alabama, who just announced he's still 20 years old. He is an absolute dude. He's going to make himself some money as we get through this draft process. We talked more about him. Actually had him going to the Cowboys in my last mock draft. And then, if you want a wide receiver, and they need wide receivers, and Tedro McMillan happens to be sitting there if he falls to 12, the tall wide receiver out of Arizona. I think that would make a ton of sense as well to help out C.D. Lamb. He is an absolute dude as well. I've talked to scouts who compared him to a more athletic version of Drake London. So that should get you excited if you're a Cowboys fan. Of course, Jacqueline got to find the head coach. And we'll see how that plays itself out. But they still gonna have the 12th pick no matter what, even if they don't have a coach and Jerry Jones is making the pick. So I think those 3 names make a lot of sense depending on which direction the organization wants to go first as they try this rebuild.